I'm just your ghost if we're not undressed. A part of me wish that we never met, but you act like we never. Got too wasted in the bathroom of your parents' house. Then you kissed me in the backseat of a taxi ride. And we said things that were cheesy, but we meant them. There were feelings, and now you deny it. You're in love with the idea of me, but you're not in my reality. Find it hard to even picture it, 'cause my reality ain't your reality, no. The sins that you can't confess. I'm just your ghost if we're not undressed. A part of me wish that we never met, but you act like we never. Got too wasted in the bathroom of your parents' house. Then you kissed me in the backseat of a taxi ride. And we said things that were cheesy, but we meant them. There were feelings, and now you deny it. You're in love with the idea of me, but you're not in my reality. Find it hard to even picture it, 'cause my reality ain't your reality, no.
Anyone can talk football. Not everyone can do it East Coast style. The East Coast Gridiron Podcast, starting now.
All right, what is up, everybody, man? This is a pleasure. I got my man Vick3 in the house, local Eagles fan, kind of in my same vicinity. I was actually on the show earlier today, guys, and we just had to do a show together where I just had to pick his brain about the Eagles, man. I think it was one of those just do situations to kind of bring you inside of our world, give you a little slice of the pie over here. So if you guys are watching this, you're either watching this on his channel or you're on the ECG channel. So if you guys know this, the last couple of videos that I put out, any type of things that are not related to the podcast, always include them on our segment called the Handoff, where I'm either talking about a player, most recently Devontae Parker and Brandon Cooks, or we're going to do cool stuff that is really not related to the show, but want to give, some people some exposure. So with that being said, got my man Vick3 in the house, fellow Eagles YouTuber. I'm a Jaguars fan, but I am representing today with the Eagles gear. I love Jalen Hurts.
I love it.
So thanks for being on the show, man. I think this is going to be super fun. So go ahead and just give everybody from my channel. I know people on your channel, they're up in the chat right now. But go ahead and give it just a little background of yourself, what you do for your channel, and we can go ahead and get started and get into some of the interviews and some of the questions I have for you.
Yeah, man. First of all, man, appreciate you for letting me on the show today. We're bookending a good day. You started it off on my show, bring a lot of energy, had great insight. I love it. I hope I can do the same for you. I go by Vick3. You can catch me on Twitter. As it says upstairs, I'm out there. I'm your host, Vick3. I have a small show called The Big Ticket. I do with my good friend, Jerry Lee. And I co-host another show with three other friends of mine, Gio from 215, AK Eagles, used to be Eagles Uncensored, and Philly Foothills. All three of us, every Wednesday we go through, the weekend of the Eagles, discuss moves, discuss news. And, sometimes we go off topics. We'll go into social topics and things like that are in reference to, football. But yeah, man, appreciate you for having me on. Can't wait to kick this off. Man,
this is going to be an excellent show. I appreciate the fact that you appreciate where I'm coming from with a lot of my takes. Some people, I get into some chats and they get a little heated and we go back and forth, and, It just is what it is. You know me, man. You got to come with it when you talk about football. You got to come with it because you know I've done my research. You know I watched the film. Just let me go ahead and throw up a plug real quick while we're at it. This is, I don't know if you guys seen this on Twitter, but I just had to do it to him today. I had to go ahead and put the T-shirt out there. Let me go ahead and zoom into it. Watch the film, not the highlights. We're going to have that at eastcoastgridironmerch.com once I get that store back up and running. Something didn't happen, but that's going to be one of the new T-shirts that that we're going to have. And I can't wait for people to go and buy that one.
I'm going to definitely need that in a hoodie.
Oh yeah. Go ahead and get a hoodie. Go ahead and get, one of the most famous quotes on our show is you got to have the feeties. Chris Olave has got the feeties. So if you know what we're talking about when it comes to this type of stuff, go ahead and buy you a T-shirt that says that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into the comments real quick. Like I said, this is one of the off-kilter shows. My man Big Play Slays in the chat today. Jalen Williams, this must be a guy from your channel. What's up, my man?
Yeah, man, appreciate y'all for coming through.
Azar Chayo, my bad if I totally butchered that last name, man, but all respect, was good. Big Play said you're the GOAT. And AK, man, I know I've been up in his chat and in his channel recently, but he said, yo, what's good? Appreciate you guys coming through for sure.
Hey, man, that's my brother from another mother right there.
Hey, man, you guys are all doing your thing. I have nothing but respect for everybody that's a content creator. I know one thing that we were saying when we were backstage is, you see how much content we try to pump out, which is just really our show just chopped up and spit out, because I know people don't want to sit through, sometimes they can't with all the lifestyles and everything, an hour and a half, hour and 45-minute podcast. So what we do is we try to chop the most, the most exciting and best segments out of the show and put it out on YouTube. Also, we do shorts like that too, just in that, that minute time frame. So, that's been working for us. Hopefully everybody appreciates all the work that we put in here. I'm kind of getting to show Vic some of our world. So I kind of make some custom graphics for you today, my man. I got to get you in there proper. And if you guys can, from my channel, you see all his links right above his webcam, and right above mine are all our links to all our social media too. I'm starting to get back in the Twitter game. I think I started that about a month ago. Just kind of conversating at things from there. Let's see. Let's go Sixers.
Hey,
what's up?
Get it done tonight. Get it done tonight.
Yeah, what's up, Dylan? Appreciate
and
you.
Everybody already knows that, who's ever coming through from my channel, y'all already know to go to this man, subscribe, hit that like, and like I always say, put a comment in the comment section so it pushes out his content.
Hey, it helps the algorithm for everybody. So I realize how hard this is. This is literally my second job, and you see the work that we try to put in over here. Well, with that said, with the jersey that I'm wearing, we got to get over to the first topic of today, which is the expectations from Jalen Hurts from your position. I'm really curious to hear, what's going on with, inside that Eagles facility, what the expectations are for him, what crazy stuff is going to come out. We know how he's up to anything and all his little bag of tricks, but I enjoy listening to you guys talk about it. And I respect you a lot. So I just want to go ahead and jump into what you think his expectations for the year is going to be.
Yeah, for Jalen, there's going to be some high expectations. This was his first full year as a starter. We all knew what it was from the beginning of the year. This was an evaluation season for him to see if he could be a starter. And, it looks like he's passed, and we've seen it. There was ups and downs, but at the end of the year, we saw that, we have a promising quarterback that can be with us for the future. Now, coming into this year, it's a different kind of evaluation. They're going to be evaluating to see if Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback. So, contract's going to come into play. So when I say we have high expectations, I don't mean on that end, to pay him. My thing is, I want to see him improving on what he did last year. He came in with, I believe, 20 touchdowns or 16 touchdowns, 10 rushing. So in total, it was 26. But I want to see those passing touchdowns improve. I want to see his accuracy improve. I want him to see make better moves. When he's at the line now, I want him to take command of this offense. I want him to, get those reads right. When he's dropping back, I want him to go through his progression the way he should. And I believe the work that he's doing this offseason will get him there. I think he's working with, the right guys. Tom House, we all heard of it. I believe it's Tom Devereaux also he's working with. Two guys who were working close with Tom Brady. Jalen, who is also working with Tom Brady this offseason and taking time out to work with his teammates. So for me, I think he's doing everything he needs to do to get himself in that position. Now we just have to see if all that translates to the field. And like I said, for the Eagles, I think they just want to see progression. They win record total. They want to see a progression of where he goes. If we're going in the first round, I say for us, we should be into the second round, maybe divisional round. Got to get there. He has to improve, like I said, on his number statistics overall. That's not a full part of the game, but that is part of the equation. So he does have to get better overall. So, he has a challenging season in front of him. We'll see what the Eagles do if they supply more talent around him. The draft's coming up, so we'll see.
Yeah. With Jalen Hurts, my concern is more on the play calling that Nick Sirianni does do for him. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. I think that offense needs to be predicated around Jalen Hurts improvising way more than he was able to do. Take the Lincoln Riley approach. Let this guy, he's going to play smart. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and get himself hurt. So you're not dealing with the Cam Newton type of guy. You're going to deal with a very smart quarterback, and you're not going to have to worry about him getting hurt or making stupid runs and things like that. Jalen's going to trust the play call on every single time, regardless of what happens. So that's what I would say I would challenge Nick to do this year is to predicate that offense more around Jalen improvising. They've allowed Carson to do it. I know Doug Peterson is a totally different coach, but you've seen Carson do it, and you've seen him have success, and you've seen him not have success because he's not as smart as a quarterback that most people are giving him credit for. But Jalen Hurts needs to improvise more, and what you have to do, and we've seen it. I think it was like that Dallas Goedert play where he was wide open, and they're like, why didn't you throw it to him? You saw exactly what he did. He went and defended the play calling right away. So with that being said, this is just one of those things where I think you have to totally trust in that. 3,100 yards for a 17-game season. I don't care what anybody says, it's very poor. When you go back and look at the statistics of what Jalen Hurts did, and this is how we're going to break down some stuff. You know how I do, Vic. He was only under center 25 times. So what does that tell me right away? That you guys are not predicating anything on helping open up that offense by running the ball. Most things that you're going to do as far as, doing handoffs and things like that statistically do come from a quarterback being under center. Outside of that, what I also looked at is that there was a lot of shotgun plays as well. I think 70% of that offense were, play action and shotgun. So, that's very easy. And when you go against other teams, it's going to be very easy for them to scheme around when 70% of your offense is that. So part of the blame is Jalen, maybe, but the other part of that is you guys get a pass for having not only a brand new coach. We talked about it a little bit before. That running back room was so annoying to try to figure out because nobody knew who the guy was. I mean, if you're looking at the stats, Miles Sanders had 750 yards. Jordan Howard had 400 yards. Scott had 373 yards, and Gainwell almost had 300 yards. So who's really the guy there? And then when you're looking at, the touchdown potential on that team, who had the most touchdowns at running back? Just without you looking at the stats, who do you think had the most touchdowns at running back?
I would have said Howard or Gainwell, I believe.
Nope. Boston Scott had
Was it
7.
Scott? Mm-hmm. Oh, my.
Jalen Hurts had the most, if you were to consider him a running back at 10, but Boston Scott. And I think that's a huge issue. Let's go to AK's comment. Hurts is only going to go as far as he wants to go if he puts in the work. I have no doubt, but it's on him. I mean, he's doing all the right things, right? He says the right things. Yeah. He's a great teammate. Nobody's saying that the intangible side of outside on the field is not the right things that he's doing. What I would say is, yes, training with Tom Brady is great for anybody just to sit back and learn from someone. We talked about this before with the quarterback rooms that, for Trevor Lawrence. It's very important on who's being a mentor and who's being a great teammate that's going to challenge you as well. Outside of that, everything that Jalen is learning needs to be taken back to the Eagles, and that quarterback room needs to challenge each other. They're not going to get very far if the things that he's learned from Tom are not put in the classroom with things. But yeah, man, I love Jalen. I mean, I loved him in college. I like what he's doing. I think he's great for the city of Philadelphia. But now you guys seriously need to challenge the coaching staff on how to get that offense built around him, because he's doing all the right things off the field, and I don't think that's not necessarily going to reflect in a positive way if they don't change the play calling.
Oh, I think you're absolutely right. We saw with Nick Sirianni in the beginning of the season. For the most part, they trusted Jalen Hurts with that offense. You saw that they were passing more, like you said, out of the shotgun more, not in under center. They were running the ball less. But they saw that, at the time, Jalen couldn't handle it. So they took some of those responsibilities and they pulled the offense back. They closed the playbook and they made it defined. They kind of tailored it to more what he could do. And then they had to put more of the running game into it, because that was something that Sirianni neglected. And that's something that he needed to learn as a first-time head coach. And once he got on track with that, you saw came into second in the league in rushing and became first.
Mm-hmm.
Played great, but then again, when we needed that rushing attack, Sirianni kind of regressed. We lost Miles Sanders for most of the year. You had Boston Scott come in, played admirably, but like you said, there was a toss-up in the running back room. Who's who? Who's going to start? Why wasn't Howard used more? What's going on with Miles Sanders, especially going forward? Now, in reference to Jalen Hurts, I think, his coaching did limit him. And one thing that we talked about all year, at least I did, and we brought it up on our show, was Brian Johnson. And how much does he have to take away for that? Because again, he only has the experience of a college quarterback coach or a college head coach, but doesn't really have that NFL experience. So for me, when I thought, yeah, I understand it was someone who Jalen was familiar with, but I would rather have a quarterback coach that has experience, that Jalen can bounce ideas off, because he's seen things before. With Brian Johnson, he can't really do that. Brian Johnson hasn't seen everything. Now, other established quarterback coach can, but with Johnson, I don't think he is. He's going to be limited with that. Jalen's going to have to take what he learns in this offseason. He's going to have to apply it. He's going to have to do a lot more work than what other quarterbacks would do, like I said, with established coaching. But, they'll learn together. Hopefully they can progress together. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to all the love that we're getting in the chat, guys. Keep it going. I'm a very open book. Vic knows this as well. Outside of the Eagles, I mean, if you guys have any questions about anything else, how we think the draft is going to go, that's what this whole show is about. I know we have Vic on, and of course we want to, talk about the Eagles and things like that. But, I'm a totally open book when it comes to this stuff. So, hopefully you can, soak in a little bit of knowledge that you might not have known. So Gio Framda 215, appreciate you coming through, my man.
Thank you, bro.
So I know we're talking about Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to go ahead and put out another question here for you in regards to Jalen Hurts. I know that there's Gardner Minshew's out there on that roster. We've seen Greg Ward throw 2 passes during the season as well. One of them was a completion for 2 yards. What do you think should happen in that quarterback room? I know we had the draft coming up, and we'll get a little bit into that, but as far as the quarterback room and improving it there, if you had to take your slice of the pie and bring in any type of quarterback, who would it be? This is regardless of what team that they're currently on, but who do you think could come in and make an immediate impact on helping Jalen, that's a veteran, or one of the younger guys?
That would be a veteran right now. Well, of course, the obvious would be like a Brady Rogers, So, but we're talking about as a backup. Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor is an ultimate professional. Jacoby Brissett, another ultimate professional. That's someone who's been through adversity. They both have, and they both have their struggles, and they both been able to carry teams. I think those are 2 guys that Jalen would look up to. Seen a lot of things they could bounce things off on. Anyone else? Right now, those are the 2 that would come to mind.
Jacoby Brissett is a very interesting one. Did want to shout out Random Anton. Hello, people. What's up, man? Hope you're having a good night. Jacoby Brissett is a very interesting one. And talking, and this directly relates to the Eagles in a weird way, with the way that Carson Wentz went to the Colts and pretty much told the Eagles to, that they were able to get rid of Jacoby Brissett because of that, because their quarterback room was, pretty deep with two rookie. Well, one rookie, you had Sam Ellinger, and then you had Jacob East in there as well. But Carson Wentz pretty much forced Jacoby Brissett, who was having a very good year the year before. Not the year before. It was Phillip Rivers was the year before that. It was the year that Andrew Luck retired. He was having a really good year up until that point, and then he ended up getting injured. So I think his career was cut too. His starting career was cut too short, and he got kind of the short end of the stick. But Jacoby Brissett's very interesting. Not necessarily that he shares the same skill set with Jalen, but you don't hear anything bad about the guy. I know we mentioned Tyrod Taylor coming down to Jacksonville too, and I think they should have snatched him up. I think he's a great backup regardless of where he goes. With Tyrod Taylor being on your mind, do you think that had anything to do with Justin Herbert's success with the Chargers? Because remember, he had the punctured lung from the needle going in, and then it pretty much was it after that.
I feel like Tyrod, there was a disservice. You know what I mean? Like, they did him wrong. Flat out. They did Tyrod Taylor wrong. He earned the respect of the team. He earned the right to start. He should have been starting. I don't want to accuse anyone of anything with that punctured lung, but it was just at the prime time when that happened. He allowed Herbert to come through. Again, I'm not accusing anyone, but the way things ended up playing out, it just played out perfectly for the Chargers. And I think that Tyrod he wasn't treated well. He should have started that season. Granted, Justin Herbert is a spectacular talent, but it didn't mean that he couldn't have sat a couple of more games. You should have gave Tyrod that respect to let him, finish it out. We all know that he wasn't there to be a long-term starter.
For sure.
But at least give him the respect of, having his play dictate where he should be.
Yeah. I honestly think just how good of a teammate that he was, had everything to do with the success, more so than, Keenan Allen and a lot of those veterans just having a veteran quarterback in your quarterback room. So I kind of challenge everybody in the chat and, a lot of people out there that are football fans. At the end of the season, let's all sit here and reevaluate how strong these core position rooms have been with the people that have been there, and let's see, let's see where this argument lies. Like the teams that had very deep position value, as far as veterans, are they having more success than the guys that are really young? I think there's something to be said there. I don't know if that's necessarily been proven, but it's one of those things where I think we just have to look at with a bigger glance here. So BLSG, what's good, fellow Sixers win game 1. Hey AK, what happened to the Sixers fans jinxing their own team? It didn't look like it. I don't watch basketball.
That's a Sixers fan going out, a Chicago Bulls fan right there. Appreciate them both for coming through.
Yeah, man. Nonetheless, appreciate you coming in the chat and listen to us talk about some Eagles, especially from a guy that's, I should have put on there, I'm not an Eagles fan, just like Jalen Hurts. So my man Don in the chat, the stats guru. Will Eagles have a legitimate running back 1 this year?
Well, everything Miles Sanders has said recently, how he's taking everything personally. In his mind, he believes so. Now, for us as Eagles fans and Eagles organization, the way they evaluate him is they're giving him one last chance. That's the way it looks like. Yeah. I don't know what they're going to do in the draft. I believe that they should get a running back. They should have someone in there competing with him. And not only competing with him, because like I said, one of the issues with Miles Sanders was when he was in the red zone, he disappeared. So if you have someone that can be a consummate scorer, that can break through, that's fine. That'll be someone who can eventually take his place. Or it could be someone who motivates Sanders to get them out there and play better. For him, like I said, I think this is his last string. His contract will be up. They're going to have to reevaluate him. So it's a boom or bust season for him.
I like I said, I think it's one of the deeper running back rooms. Now, listen here. I mean, what's the century or benchmark for a good running back in the NFL after averaging, 4 to 5 yards a carry, right? If you're averaging 5 yards a carry, that's excellent. Miles Sanders is at 5.5 this year, right? Every other running back that was on this list, 4.3 was the lowest that they averaged. Kenneth Gainwell and Boston Scott had 4.3, 4.7 for Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders. These guys are very good running backs if you're looking at just that statistics, and I think that statistic tells you a lot. Think about it logically. 4 yards a carry, if they ran it 3 times, you're guaranteed a first down. So sometimes you just have to break it down like that. So depending on where that ball is on the field, these guys can get you, not guaranteed. Of course, never any play is guaranteed. But theoretically, in most situations, they're going to get you the yardage that you need to go downfield. Miles Sanders averaged 5.5. This dude is no joke. But having 137 attempts and Jalen Hurts having 139 reminds me of Matt Corral last year. I mean,
it does.
Yeah.
But like I said, the one thing is with Miles is when they see his red zone production, and that's the area where he needs to produce the most. And also, when we look at Miles Sanders, he's not that guy that's going to get you that tough yard, and that's something else he needs to improve on in his game.
Philly, the podcast, my man Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, in the chat. What's up, my man? Can you tell I watch your videos enough? So check it out, man. I said this earlier, and you can kind of give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this one, and then we'll move on to the Eagles draft here. Thumbs up or thumbs down, or I guess we could do it in betting terms. What is the possibility that what I said earlier was going to happen with Kenny Gainwell eventually being running back number 1? Is that a good possibility or the lowest of possibilities?
I'm not going to say the lowest of possibilities because there's still a lot that we don't know about this kid. He had a decent rookie season, but again, when you look at it, he was sort of more of a receiving running back, not so much of rusher. He wasn't that another guy who wasn't getting those hard tough yards. But we'll see what an off season brings in a year, of under his belt. We'll see what that does. Now, as for him becoming the starter, I'm going to have to give it a thumbs down. I don't believe that would happen. I think Sirianni was very high on him last season. Could still possibly be now. He might give him more looks, but I don't think he's going to be, the number 1 guy when it's all said and done.
Yeah. Well, I think he, so I'm a college guy first. Everybody knows this. When he was at Memphis, I almost said Memphis. When he was at Memphis, he was no joke, but he didn't play a lot either. And he still has a ton of tread on the tire. So if you're talking about probably the freshest running back there, it's going to be him. And I think it took him a little, he had a little slow start coming in. And then, he had that one really good game. But I agree with what Don said. Gainwell was underused last year, and I totally believe that for how fresh that kid is going to be. So Random Anton, I think that was a thumbs up. Hit the like button, I guess he's saying. I invited Philly on earlier today. He said, sorry, I couldn't make it tonight, bro. Got mad side work. Hey, whatever pays the bills, man, that's what you got to worry about first, putting food on the table. I got to knock out, but we'll chop it up soon for sure, man. Appreciate you coming through and just listen to us talk. And then JC Sports Talk, what's up, man? Appreciate you coming through. So
appreciate you coming.
Well, you guys have an interesting draft, to say the least. Yeah. We said a little bit earlier on your show, I think that 5 to 7 between, the Giants and the Panthers, those three, picks are going to shake up the draft really, really bad. because I think, like I told you earlier, I think the Panthers are going to do something that nobody sees coming. And the Giants are going to take 2 good players off the board because they need everybody. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a position there that they're really good at, that they can use help everywhere. So, with that being said, before we get into your draft picks, I gotta shout out a couple people. Thank you everybody for coming through. This has been awesome. I'll be the first one to say, for those that don't know, I'm not an Eagles fan. I'm a Jaguars fan. Vic is the Vick3 is the Eagles fan. This is kind of just an homage and kind of helping my boy out here, and picking his brain, to make me a better football watcher. Also, this can all help us. Say no to running backs in this draft, at least early on. You guys have a deep running back room. There's no need for you. If you guys draft a running back, I want all of you guys to tweet at me and say, I'm done with the Eagles for this year. It's a wasted draft pick. Joey Shakes in the chat. Another channel I've never seen. I like it. Appreciate you, my man.
I appreciate you for coming through, my guy.
Random Anton, thumbs up for Gainwell. Oh, so he was doing the thumbs up, thumbs down. I like Gainwell, man. Got a lot of tread on the tire. Super talented guy, very underutilized. So back to the draft. You guys have picks 15 and 18 coming up in this draft. I told you earlier that I would love to see 2 guys that I think you guys should pick up, that you guys should not pass on, because I think they could be total game changers in your cover zone scheme. And with the offense that's being run, to take not only the top and the middle of the field off, and to help Dallas Goedert with Chris Olave, who's going to put his body on the line for every single catch. Don't care about the size. Don't care about any of that stuff. The guy is the number 2 receiver on my board. And I think that he is, obviously with his intangibles of, he was getting locked up at Ohio State last year. That's why Garrett Wilson had such an amazing year. For those that didn't come through the Vic stream earlier, and I know you guys tend to agree, you and Jerry were like, yeah, I think he's going to be awesome. So, I mean, I hear the argument a lot. Oh, we need a bigger receiver. Oh, we need this. We need this. You guys just need a damn good receiver at this point in time. Devontae Smith did not get hurt. He's a small wide receiver. I think the game is just changing. Chris Olave is a lot stronger than what people give him credit for, and he will actually block for your team as well. I watched a lot of tape on him, a couple of weeks ago. And shout out to the Ohio State spring game. That one kid at cornerback, I'm forgetting his name now. That kid's going to be amazing. He's a freshman, and he was just making all kinds of plays all over the field. And CJ Stroud is my my Heisman favorite. But Chris Olave was a wide receiver that I said you guys should pick at 15, because if you guys don't pick him up there, that dude's definitely going to fall somewhere else. Probably going to be picked in number 16. And then also at 18, I said that you guys should pick up Kyrie Elam. Because you can move him pretty much anywhere in that cornerback scheme, and he's going to play really well. Plays a very similar cover zone scheme at Florida. Is a great tackler, very physical. You guys are going to be very physical up front. And Hassan Reddick, I told you, I think was one of the best signings that any team has done this offseason. So with that being said, I know I talked a lot. I want you to go ahead and shine with your 15. If you were up there, picks number 15 and 18 in the 2022 draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select at number 15.
I would hope there would be something that happens where this man falls. Kyle Hamilton, if that man falls, Stingley. But our realistic pick, those are the ones that we wish that would fall to us. Realistically, I would say first, Olave. For me, we need that receiver. I don't know where the size thing came from. In recent history, our best deep threat is Deshaun Jackson, not a very tall man himself, very speedy man. But Olave does everything, and he does everything well. And he is a deep threat, a legitimate deep threat. They say he's Devontae Smith, but a better route runner and a better deep threat. Devontae himself is the same size, 6'1". If some people bring up Garrett, he's 5'11" or 6 foot. He's smaller. So he's not even taller. Size isn't everything. When we watch the tape, we know Olave can get up there and get the ball. We know he catches at the point of attack. He does everything right. I think that's the guy that that would help the Eagles offense, and it would help the progression with Jalen Hurts, specifically with him. Second pick at 18, I would hope the man is there, but I'm going to have to get one of those defensive linemen from Georgia, and I think at 18, Wyatt would be there, so I'm going to have to go get Devontae Wyatt.
Yeah, Devontae Wyatt has got some off the field issues that I think are really plaguing him. But I did want to go back to the size comparison here. I mean, if we're talking about Devontae Smith, he's 6 foot, 170 pounds, which is very unusual that this guy did not. I mean, he put on a little bit of weight as when he got in the league. But if we're comparing people, I mean, Chris Olave's taller and bigger than him at 6'1", 187 pounds. And if you don't think that Chris Olave, by the time he gets on the team, is going to be at 200, you're kidding yourselves. Garrett Wilson's 6 foot, 192 pounds. And like I said, if you watch, and I know some people in the chat are gonna sit here and act like they have, but if you watch Ohio State games last year, Garrett Wilson took the top off of defenses. He was getting locked up at the line of scrimmage, and he was breaking through. Just go watch the tape on that Oregon game. He was amazing, man. He kept them in that game, breaking off routes while being double covered the whole time. He's incredible. Drake London is my number one, of course, and I don't think, even if Drake London is there, all the people that are talking about that they want a physical, wide receiver that's not going to drop the ball. Treylon Burks is going to drop, 4 to 5 catches a game in the NFL. Mm-hmm. He's got alligator arms like crazy. You pick up somebody like Chris Olave or Drake London, if they fall that far, you guys are going to be very happy. So shout out to JC Sports Talk, just subbed you up, love the energy. Dude, I love you for loving me. First round pick, Eagles draft, DB pick 15 and wide receiver 18. Either way it goes, if you guys can catch one of those guys, I won't even be mad if you guys pick up Jahan Dotson. I don't think that guy's talked about enough. Antonio Holmes, this is
not at all.
Antonio Holmes says, this is my first time you keep saying you guys, or you're not an Eagles fan. All right, I guess you just jumped in here after I said that I wasn't an Eagles fan. I'm a Jaguars fan. I know, boo-hoo. We need a talented receiver. The receiver doesn't matter size. Thank you so much for that.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, man. The days of these big, you're not going to find a DK Metcalf in every single draft. It's just not going to happen. So you have to deal with what you have to deal with. If Chris Olave is not going to get tackled. That's one thing. He's not going to get, if he's open, he's not going to get tackled. His tread on the tires is really good right now because he is a yards after catch beast that gets open all over the field. I don't want to say he's good downfield or good short field. He's the best route runner in this draft. I saw another podcast where they were like, oh, I don't want Chris Olave because he's blah, blah, blah. He's not a better route runner. He's a better route runner than Devontae Smith. I'm sorry. Yep. He can run every route in the route tree.
Well, I'll say this. I'll take separation over size any day.
Mm-hmm. If Eagles pick a wide receiver, look for Williams or London to be there. Jameson Williams, I think, is going to fall a little deeper than what people are saying about him, too. Just because, if you looked at the game with him and Sauce Gardner where he only had -2 catches, but to be fair, I only seen Sauce line up like 2 or 3 times on him too. So I'm a Penn State fan and I would draft Wilson over Olave. I need you to elaborate on that one because I'm not saying that I disagree with you. I'm not saying that Garrett Wilson is not a talented wide receiver, but I don't even have him in my top 5 this year. You have to look at the scheme that was played with Ohio State. Chris Olave came in this year as being known as one of the best wide receivers coming into last college season. I mean, if he wasn't number 2, he was number 1 for a lot of people. So when Garrett Wilson's name popped up, nobody's talking about Garrett Wilson. He was getting double teamed, man. And that's the only reason that people are giving Garrett Wilson a lot more credit. They're looking at the statistics. Yeah, he was amazing, but I mean, you had Njigba, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Garrett Wilson all on that team. They're all freaking good.
It was a stacked team.
Yeah, Random Anton. I like Dotson and Pickens. We talked about Pickens a little bit earlier too.
Yeah.
He's not in my top 5 either, but I think Dotson is way better than Pickens is. Whenever you have a very crap quarterback and your whole offense was dedicated to how well you were doing, John Dotson was all Penn State. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Outside of the crazy defense you guys had last year, JC Sports, as an Eagles fan, I think Smith is kind of like Olave. We need someone different from Smith, and why I'm picking Wilson. That's why I'm picking Wilson. I think he's a great pick. The difference between them two is, and Vic will tell you this, Devontae Smith is very good at breaking cornerbacks when the routes are being developed downfield. Olave is a little bit like that, but where Olave is going to get you is that short and intermediate routes that he does in the route tree that nobody's going to be able to catch. Not only is he freaking fast as hell, but he's going to be able to, and this is one of the problems that Jalen Hurts had last year. Some of those throws were short. Who do you think is going to be diving after every single pass? Watch the tape on Chris Olave. He's going to put his body on the line. You guys are going to love this kid. I'm telling you, he's got that Philly spirit that you guys are going to love. But also with that being said, yeah, and with that being said, you're going to have the middle of the field open for Dallas Goedert the whole time. It's a recipe for freaking disaster for other teams if he gets there. Sorry to hype him up so much, but I totally get why. Why people love Chris Olave. Just watch the tape, dude. He's so freaking good.
Keep it up. Let him know, because he is a spectacular player. Like I said, it's that when they nitpick and they say things like size and stuff like that has nothing to do with it. When you see the tape, when you see him play, he has some space between him and a defender. And it's always going to be there. That's someone you're going to want on the team. Again, Nelson Aguilar, great size, but what was his issue? Can't create any kind of separation. So you can have size, but you got to know how to separate from your defender in order for you to get that ball.
Yeah, for sure. Yo, shout out to the 2 people that subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you're, take a seat back, and after this podcast, go watch a couple of our videos, and hopefully, get a little bit of background on some players that you might not know about. Don is my man. We call him a stats guru for a reason. So, but let's go ahead and, with the 15 and 16 pick. So you want Chris Olave and you want a cornerback for sure.
I would, like I said, I would love to have Stingley Jr. I think he's great.
But you
I don't know
Wyatt
if that's
at DT.
Yeah, because like I said, you got to see who's gonna fall and who's gonna be there at that time. I don't believe Stingley Jr. will be there at 15 or 18 unless something happens where everyone's moving up for a specific position. But if he was there, I'd take him. I'd take him in a heartbeat. Stingley would be in that 15th pick.
Appreciate that, Mitchkovsky. Thank you, sir. If you can't see the passion that exudes every time I have a conversation about football, man, I love this stuff. JC Sports Talk, definitely got to have you on the Talk Jacks football. Doug Peterson hiring more, have to run, but great stream, fellas. Keep it up. Thank you so much, man. We really do appreciate that. Go to Vic's channel. He's got the video where he asked me nothing but Jaguars questions earlier. So if you want to know my, all my thoughts on Jaguars stuff, he's definitely got on his channel. Vic's really good at asking the questions, man. I love talking to him. Last comment we got on here before we move on. I don't see us taking a quarterback early, but if we get one late, I hope we get Bailey Zappi. Didn't we talk about that a little bit earlier today?
He must have watched the show. He watched the show.
Better year than Burrow's historic year. Thank you for pointing that out. If you did take a little bit of that knowledge earlier in the show and you're now exuding that, it's okay to plagiarize. You're a real one. But yes, Bailey Zappi would be excellent if you guys could catch him. I told them that earlier. He would immediately improve your quarterback room. He immediately would. He's total different quarterback, but also would challenge Sirianni for sure. So, all right. So this is great, man. Chris Olave, and then you want to get Wyatt from Georgia up there. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Total disruptor, has some off the field issues. Now, last question before we get into the Eagles all around expectations for the season. if you guys end up finding out that Wyatt has had these off the field issues that you just really can't, the Eagles are not comfortable enough with bringing him in, who do you pick outside of that? There's not a lot of defensive tackles that are jumping off the board for a lot of people. It's more, your D-ends, your edge guys, cornerbacks, of course, are prominent in this draft for a wide receiver. Who do you take at 18 if they're there?
If available, I'm taking George Karlaftis. Great edge defender. You have him, I believe you said second or third on your list. I think he's high motor, great player. A lot of people are down on him. Don't know why. They say he hasn't played well. When you see him play against top competition, as you stated before, he's risen to the occasion. He's handled those players. So yeah, I would love to have George Karlaftis. We can have Wyatt. If whatever's happening, off the field, if that's true, that's not someone we can have on the team. But if the call has to be made, I'm going with Karlaftis.
Karlaftis is good, man. His stats don't jump off on the board. Just kind of how I feel the same thing about Jordan Davis. He's very consistent. He's a very consistent edge rusher. His numbers are not jumping off the table at you, but if you want somebody that's going to be very destructive around the outside that people are going to have to scheme around, he's a very scary, strong, athletic young man. Very consistent every single game.
Yeah, and especially when you look at the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, especially when you look at the Eagles, we're going to have that rotation at defensive end. So you're going to have, a plethora of guys going in there, and he's going to get experience, and he might be the better of all of them when it's all said and done.
He might be. I mean, I know I've thrown Ryan Kerrigan's name in there a lot, but he's the other. I think he's the other side of Ryan Kerrigan, the pass rushing monster that Ryan Kerrigan was earlier in his career. I think that's his NFL comparable, if you put him in the right scheme. But yeah, numbers don't jump off to you, but if you watch how many pressures he gets on quarterbacks, how well he is in the run game. Like I said, Chad, you let me know how many Purdue games that you guys have watched. But I would encourage and challenge you to go back and watch their games, especially on his tape. Don't watch the highlights. There's not many of them, but watch the tape. See what he does the full game. Let me give you, if you guys are interested, let me give you one game that didn't really jump off as far as stats, but go watch the Notre Dame game that he played last year. They ended up losing that game 13-27. But just go back and watch that game and see what he did on that defensive line. That game could have been a lot closer, of course, if the offense would have picked up, but the defense played really, really well. And I don't think that's a bad pick, Vic, at all. What would shake up the draft is I hope Howie gets a package together to go ahead and get Derek Stingley Jr. For your team. But let me go ahead and read the comments here. Who do you think we should trade up for if they're still on the board? Hamilton or Sauce, which is better fit for our team? I'm torn. We talked about this a little earlier as well. I think, Sauce is, and I'm not going to continue to call this dude Sauce. Like, there's nothing saucy about, Ahmad Gardner. But I think he's severely overrated. And he played in a weak conference, and they got blown up because everybody had their eyeballs on Cincinnati. What you do, if you can trade up, if it's between those two, of course you go and get a Kyle Hamilton. Don't expect him to be a Brian Dawkins type, but expect him to be consistently consistent the whole time. He has to play in the right scheme. He has to play in the zone scheme. Don't expect this man to be flying all over the field. I think a really good comparable for him is probably Micah Hyde is probably a really good NFL comparison for Kyle Hamilton if you're talking about expectations. But that would be really solid for you guys. That's just how I feel about that. But Eagles expectations, man, for the year. Go ahead and get into that. I know they were 9-8 last year. They made it to the playoffs, lost against the Buccaneers. But what do they do? And what's the expectations with depending on how the draft goes? Let's just say that everything goes right in the draft. You guys pick up who you say that they're going to pick up, if Howie's not a complete idiot, what is their expectations for that?
Well, a lot of expectations go into the coaching staff first. Sirianni has to improve. Most importantly, out of everyone on that coaching staff, Jonathan Gannon has to improve.
Mm-hmm.
You know, defense for the most part was a big weakness. We all know the deficiency we have a linebacker, but it's the style of defense that he plays that you said before. Very boring, very vanilla, but he needs to improve a lot because, you know, we're going to be very dependent on his defense if these moves are made in the draft. Now, overall, we need to end up with a better record. I think we were 9-8 last year. Of course, there has to be at least 1 or 2 games better, and we have to make it further into the playoffs. I think if they do that, then everyone will be satisfied. Not that they'll be happy, they'll be satisfied that there's improvement. You know, because let's be honest, in Philadelphia, you're not happy at all until you win a Super Bowl. There's always something to complain about. There's always something to pick at. But for them, just for this season, they have to improve upon what they did on last season.
Yep, for sure, man. You know, there as a Jaguars fan, I know some of you guys stream, they get real depressing in the way that you guys talk about the Eagles, but just take it from me. There's nothing worse than being a Jaguars fan and watching them be so up and down.
I'm still trying to figure out what's all the disrespect for James Robinson. That's something like I never understood. He is a great player. And then, like, I get it. A-Town was good when he was in Clemson. But again, this is an improving kid when you just saw out of his first year, he had an amazing season coming out of nowhere. Why wouldn't you give him the respect and just think that, you know, call him the leader, call him the guy, let A-Town get in. And look, he ended up getting hurt. So imagine had they put all their eggs in the basket like they intended to do.
I just hope that they use Etienne in the right way. Etienne reminded me a lot of Ezekiel Elliott when he was with the Cowboys, right? With the amazing, if you watch Clemson games, that offensive line was amazing, man. Like they were opening the middle of the field up every time that dude had the ball, and it only helped him out because he was one of the fastest players out there. Now, what I hope the Jaguars do is they give James Robinson the majority of the carries, and on those sweep plays or on those, you know, the cutback counter plays, that you give it to Etienne and see what he can do just to open the field up. Because I think what's going to happen, and if I'm Doug Peterson, you put Etienne on every single screen package that you can and see how he can open up the field. And you guys have a ton of players like that too, which if you're in shotgun, I don't understand why you guys aren't doing a lot of that either. But, you know, maybe with just everything Sirianni's got going on, I have no idea. So let's go ahead and get into the comments. What's your expectation for Hurts too? What does he need to do this year to pass the test? I mean, we talked about that a little bit earlier. He's doing everything right. And just real quick, just summarize for the chat real quick, Vic, what you were telling me before. What his expectations were.
Basically, everything he's doing this offseason has to translate onto the field. You know, his numbers have to improve, and we all know numbers isn't, you know, that's not everything, but that's a big part of the equation. You know, when he's in that offense again, he has to make the right reads, make the right progressions, and we do need a better total winning record. You know, he has to get us further. If that doesn't happen, then we're going to see it as a regression.
So, I mean, the expectation really is around whatever happens with coaching with him too. Again, in Nick Sirianni's offense, they need to predicate it around him. Take the Lincoln Riley approach. That's kind of what I would challenge their coaching staff to do and see if he has success with that. He's a great teammate, great off the field, doing everything right, study his ass off. You know, now it's to the point where you guys need to, if he's your franchise quarterback, get Howie out your ear and get in the playbook and start designing things where you're going to get Jalen to start trusting the play call on and for him to improvise. Because I'm sure if you put that in his head, just do what you're going to do. I know this is the read, but do what you're going to do. And for people saying that he's a first read quarterback is absolutely asinine too. He's not. There's plenty of times that I've watched on tape of, you know, when people started claiming that it was what game was it? I believe it was the first Washington game when people were starting to complain about that with him, and I had to go back and watch the tape and just say, like, he's not a first-read quarterback whatsoever. He trusts in the play calling, and sometimes it's not even determined by, what the quarterback is going to do. If Nick Sirianni says always look for your first receiver being open and then improvise from there, nobody knows. That's a very opinion-based statement that everybody's making, but you can't look at the glass, half full with that type of stuff. So, do they make the playoffs, Vic?
Yeah, I believe they do. Especially with, hopefully they make the right moves in the draft. There's going to be some upgrades to this defense. So yeah, I believe they make the playoffs.
How far in the playoffs do you think they make it?
I'm hoping further than the second round, but we will see.
So I know we're going to try to wrap it up here in the next couple minutes, but just for any open discussion that you guys might have, shoot your questions in the chat, please, and we will feel free to answer that. But following up with a question of my own, as of right now, your early predictions for Super Bowl, who's your AFC and your NFC champion as of right now with the moves that they've made?
For the NFC, wow. Well, I got to give respect to the Rams right now. They are the defending champs. They maybe, they have some upgrades. They may get Tyron Matthew. We'll see. So, I'm going to give respect. I'm going to say the Rams. The AFC is so tough because of what happened with the AFC West. But I honestly think with all those upgrades, I think they're going to tire themselves out. Mahomes, we all know with the Chiefs, they're weaker, especially at wide receiver. The defense took a hit, but everyone else has gotten better around, especially the Raiders. They may make some noise, but ultimately, I think it's going to be the Bills. I think the Bills finally squeak out now. It's all dependent on if they get a running back in this draft also, because that's their biggest need, I think, on offense. That's the last thing they need.
That's very interesting that you say that. Back. And you guys don't like Devin Singletary? He had an amazing playoff, man.
I think he had an admirable season. He did great, but he's not the number one guy. You've seen that they were trying to give it to Zach Moss. It didn't work. They went back to Singletary. Yeah, and he did what he did, but I think they can get better at running back.
I think Devin Singletary is going to have a better season than what people are giving him credit for, and I think you saw a little taste of that in the playoff as well. So I think the Bills are very much trusting in who they have. We've seen it with Josh Allen. Sean McDermott is a really good coach when it comes to that type of stuff. I mean, what's his name? Gabriel Davis. That dude's been on the team for a couple of years, and we've seen that, he became a diamond in the rough. I think that's how you develop teams now, man. You give these guys the best chance to step up. You bring guys in that are going to challenge them. Stephon Diggs. A little side note. My sister used to date Stephon Diggs in high school. I've actually known him and Trayvon. I remember Trayvon when he was a little boy.
Oh.
It was crazy. But yeah, man, so the Bills and the Rams is very interesting.
Yeah.
So let's get over to the comments here. Let me stop blocking this. I feel like Hurts has a tall task. If we beat the bad teams, we beat the bad teams. If we lose to bad teams, we can't even beat bad teams. He has to be unfairly greater than his peers. That's a fair assessment. That's a very fair assessment.
It is, but for me, I don't want to go with that with the bad teams. It doesn't matter who you're going up against. You got to go. If you consider a bad team or a great team, at the end of the day, you got to get that W. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who you're playing against, whether bad or good. You got to get that win, and that's something that Jalen has to overcome. It's going to be tough. It is going to be an uphill battle, but I think he has the resilience to take care of it. And, he'll play better next year.
I don't want to see any more plays of 25 times him being under center.
Yeah.
If you want him to be an actual quarterback, this dude needs to be under center, man. Just is what it is. Stop acting like that, that this type of stuff doesn't work in the NFL. You need to confuse these defenses. Running things out of play action and shotgun the whole time are not going to work. It's too predictable.
Well, I think Sirianni is going to open up the playbook this season. I think a lot of the reasons why you've seen that go on last year is because of where he thought Jalen was. Maybe Jalen couldn't handle, like I said, in the beginning of the season, he was throwing a lot at Jalen. And most of it wasn't sticking. So they had to take a step back. I think this season, They're going to open up the playbook. You're going to see a different side of Jalen Hurts. A lot of people, I think, will be impressed. All the naysayers are going to be very quiet. But just know, I keep receipts.
I keep receipts too, man. I got a whole journal of receipts that I keep. So, big play Slay up in the chat. The Bills are going to the Super Bowl next year and winning it. People have been saying that the last 2 seasons, and we have yet to see it. If
Josh Allen gets a little closer, but it doesn't work out.
Hey, I was a believer of Josh Allen. So reverse question back to myself. If I was to ask myself the same question, my man, who I think right now, I think what you're going to see is the Chargers come up out of the AFC. I truly believe that there's just too much talent on that team. It's way too much. The one thing that they're one piece away is having a consistent running back. Austin Eckler was awesome, but he also gets hurt. If they get like a Breece Hall or Isaiah Spiller, man, that team's going to be unstoppable, like straight up. So
the defense has to stay on the field too, because they had a lot of injuries with that defense, especially on the back end. Derwin James, you got to be in there for a whole season, my guy.
Yeah. And if I'm talking about the NFC, man, I like the Rams, but I think they're just gonna slow down a little bit this year. The NFC's kind of hard. Dang, man,
it's open because you think the Bucks, they got Brady back. You're gonna have a healthy wide receiver core. The defense is all healthy. New coach. But Arians is still there in the back end, so the offense will stay intact. Byron Leftwich is left with, he has the offense. He's able to do what he wants, and we know a big issue last year was Arians held him back. We'll see what happens.
So I'm going to just go off on a whim and just say this team, because they got a new coach. A lot of players are coming out and saying that they're liking what's going on. They're one of the only teams that, from what I read, that actually showed up to their, their first week of camp. Usually all players don't do that, but this team did that, and that's the Vikings. I don't know why. I just feel like that team is going to gel more, and I think they're going to have a pretty good draft as well. I think they know what they need. Dalvin Cook is still amazing. Kirk Cousins is going to give you what Kirk Cousins is going to do. That wide receiving core is still one of the most underrated. Their defense is going to mesh well together. And I hope Danielle Hunter has a healthy season this year, because he's freaking scary too. And Patrick Peterson is he brings nothing but just good vibes to that cornerback room. So I think that's all I'm going to go with. I know that's kind of far-fetched, but oh, dang, look at my man Gene Walzak from the Wire to Wire podcast in here. Browns versus Bills in the AFC, Bucks versus 49ers in the NFC. Oh, okay. I know you were harping on 49ers. So he said that right after the Super Bowl. I'm predicting it right now. The 49ers are going to be there. We'll get to a couple.
The Browns are very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Who is this? I know I cut off your name.
Like I said before, I felt that Baker Mayfield probably cost them the Super Bowl. Probably 1 or 2 Super Bowl appearances. Like you said before, you think the Eagles have a deep running back room. The Browns have probably the deepest running back room in all of NFL. They have 4 starters. Let's be honest. Dearness Johnson was a great get. Felton, also great.
That's very true.
I think, and now you got to think. Now they have Amari Cooper. They have a legitimate number 1. No disrespect to Odell. No disrespect to Jarvis Landry. But I think Amari was underused in Dallas. He was used to basically cover up a lot for CeeDee Lamb. If it wasn't for him, CeeDee wouldn't be as good as he is. Now he's gone. He's going to showcase himself in Cleveland. I think they're going to have a big year, but I don't think they'll be Super Bowl bound, but I think they'll have a big year.
CeeDee Lamb was double covered pretty good portion of last year too. But I see what you're saying. I mean, you have to take the top off of Amari Cooper as well. But CeeDee Lamb is going to freaking go off this year. Big Play Slay says, Hurts as a quarterback, he's got the potential. I'm banking more on the upside with him. And for QBs, for starters, I think he gives us the best shot. But I guess see more from him as a quarterback until I can say he's the guy. Okay. You know,
Now, for Big Plus, I'd like to just bring up this question because he knows we have a long history. Do you still think that Daniel Jones is better than Jalen Hurts?
Who, me? Or was that
No,
for?
that was him. He that's what he thought. I'm still asking now to revise that. Do you still think Daniel Jones is better than Jalen Hurts?
I'd say for right now, yeah, he is. Nah, I mean, I'll answer for him. I think so, and there's the reason why I say that. Daniel Jones has had nothing but bad supporting cast his whole career. Him and Sam Darnold, I think, were brought in around the same time, so the comparison was being done there. Who would you rather take out of those two? Daniel Jones. I mean, if you're saying Sam Darnold based off potential, you're just asking just to be hopeful for something that's not there. Daniel Jones has had Darius Slayton, who's been injured, not as injured as the other guys. Sterling Shepard, he was supposed to be the number one guy after the Odell left. Evan Ingram, oh God, the Jaguars have him now. Saquon Barkley, an offensive line that is abysmal, a defense that still doesn't know their identity. You're asking a lot out of one guy that, you know, literally has it's hard to evaluate him because of that. And then you bring Galladay
But
in.
he came in the same year as Saquon, did he not?
I can't remember if they came in.
He was their second. Well, no, because I think he was their number 6 pick. So I think he was a year after Saquon. But again, he did have Saquon Barkley when he was at his peak for however long his career is. When he was at his peak, that offense was moving. Now, he didn't take advantage because there were a lot of times he had a lot of upside, but there were a lot of mistakes that he still made. So I don't think Daniel Jones is that. I think he's a great backup. If he's a backup, he's the greatest backup in the league. But as a starter right now with New York, I don't even think he's going to end up the year being the starter.
I think I just need one more year to evaluate him on with a lot of the talent that should be there on that team, because Galladay was even hurt last year. So, and I had him on my fantasy team, and he didn't absolutely do anything. I'm thinking that he was going to have a big year. Big Play Slay says, I personally have the Chargers win the AFC West next year. You're going to have 3 playoff teams coming from that division. Mark my words.
Great coach. They have a great coach out of Brandon Stokely, Stokely Saley. And like you said, running back room great. 2 great receivers on each side. The only issue is tight end. They're not really big on tight end. That's the one area I think they need to improve.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into the last little bit of these and go ahead and wrap up the show. So Leo Chanel. So you talk about the linebacker for Wisconsin. I do think that he's a sleeper. I do have some concerns about if he's going to be able to play any type of coverage in the NFL, because you're asking a lot from a linebacker nowadays to be able to have some type of cover skill ability. I don't think he has that. So you're going to have to look at him as a developmental talent. But if you're talking about just as a peer put the pressure on, the offensive line that can stick up there and very fast, has clean hips coming off of, trying to block or trying to get around blocks, trying to, sideline to sideline, trying to get the tackles. Yeah, he's got all of that. I mean, I think he had like eight sacks, like 2 forced fumbles or something like that. He's definitely not Micah Parsons though. He's a sleeper, but I don't think he's Micah Parsons. So appreciate the comment, my man. I got the Bills Rams in the Super Bowl next year. I think that's the majority. A lot of people have that. I got to see how Lance looks next year. I think he'll be good, but man, I won't put a nail on anything until I see how he looks. We'll see, man. Trey Lance is a very interesting one because we just don't know yet. We really haven't seen anything. I knew Hurts was better than Jones after game 1. And I still think Jones has a bad team with a solid team. I think he's decent, but as of now, give me Hurts. I mean, I'll probably pick Jalen Hurts because we don't know. I mean, the flashes that we've seen with Daniel Jones, he looks really good. He would improvise and he would try to put points on the boards. You can't say that he hasn't done that on a really crappy team. So if you're looking at that aspect, you might give him the edge over Hurts. But I think you put them in the same bucket. It's one of those things where it's like the spider versus the scorpion. Who wins? We don't know. We don't know yet. We need to evaluate him 1 year with a team that's not hurt. Hurts ceiling is 11-12 quarterback. I don't think he'll ever be a top 10 guy. I think you can win with Hurts, but not win just because of Hurts. We'll see. We'll see. That again, we know
A lot remains to be seen with both quarterbacks, but for the most part, I get what they're saying. For the most part, you can see the eye test. You can see what someone has. You can see if they're willing to improve themselves. I don't know. I see a lot of Jalen Hurts that he's tough. He understands what's going on around him. He's not stupid. It's not like he's not listening and seeing all these comments on Twitter. He knows everything that's going around. He reads the comments, but he's also out there working to get himself better. That's the thing that I like the most. He's taking the time to get himself better. Hopefully that translates.
So, now I see the comments here. So with Jalen Hurts too, dude got replaced in the national championship. Then went to Oklahoma, almost won the Heisman, didn't win it. Then came to Philadelphia, sat behind Carson Wentz, didn't say anything. Then took the starting role, then got criticized for the year that he had. I mean, the guy has been on a downward trajectory as far as negativity coming his way, and he's been, deflecting it like, a knight with the shield almost, man. I give the guy as much praise in the world. Last comment, and then we'll wrap this one up because I got to address this. I got to ask, what makes Corral better than Burrow as a quarterback? I say Corral, it's Corral. Matt Corral.
I was getting it wrong too.
Yeah. So Matt Corral in every single facet to me is a better quarterback when you're talking about consistency, when you're talking about being a leader, when you're talking about just the intangibles that the guy has. He has a laser for an arm. He can put the ball anywhere. The only bad things about Matt Corral is he's had a sucky offensive line, which anybody with that offensive line would be very crappy. I never came out and said that Matt Corral is better than Burrow. I said Matt Corral is the best quarterback that I've scouted. I did not scout Joe Burrow at all other than just looking at the games. I'm not even going to sit here in front. I told you, I'll be completely honest with you. But you have to think about the supporting cast that Burrow had his whole career, man. When he went to LSU, he had Jamar Chase, he had Justin Jefferson, he had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Randy Moss's son, Patrick Queen on defense, that, Grant Delpit was there as well. Like, these guys are not like run-of-the-mill guys. If you put Matt Corral in that situation, I think he has the same type of season. I don't think that there's any fall off there. Now, Joe Burrow came into another great situation outside of the offensive line with T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and AJ Green. Like, come on. Like, and Joe Mixon. Matt Corral did not have anywhere near the talent of any of those guys. So it's a little unfair to sit here and compare the two. That's really what I was getting at. But as far as what I've scouted at quarterback, I think he's better than Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's better than Andrew Luck as far as the college portion of it. But Corral was the best quarterback in the country last year and did more with less. I don't know what else you could have asked for the guy. This is why he ran for like 700 yards last year and was like the leading rusher on his team all season long. The dude was running for his life. But it is what it is. So Gene said, I guess you're talking about Jalen Hurts, lacks arm strength, lacks anticipation. Let's see, what was this? Message from a Golden Eagle. Wings up, fellas. Live came through on my channel. Live came through on my channel. Keep it up. Fly Eagles fly. Not an Eagles fan, but fly Eagles fly for all the rest of y'all, man. My man
Vick.
Man,
fly Eagles fly. Appreciate
that's what we'll
through.
take.
Thank you.
I'm sure you appreciate it. What are you really saying? Corral is better than Joe Burrow?
No one said Corral's better than Burrow. No one said that.
Okay, I can respect it. Burrow had no O-line too. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. So, but guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I know Vic's got some stuff he's got to get into. Thank you so much, man, for coming through to today's show. Everybody in the comments, you guys lit it up tonight. If you can, from my channel, go and subscribe to, Vick3. He's an Eagles content creator. Everybody know on my side, I'm a Jaguars fan, but we're unbiased here. We just love everything football. Go ahead and watch those USFL games and let us know how you think those are going.
Yeah, right.
But Vic, I know you did the due diligence, so let me get a shout out. But I appreciate you, my man, so much for coming through today. We had nothing but great conversations, and I'm just trying to educate myself on teams and get perspective from people that are the real fans of these teams. So I do appreciate you giving me that insight. But go ahead and shout yourself out. Let people know where they can find you, and we'll go ahead and end the show from there.
Yeah, man. Again, appreciate you for letting me on today. I had a great time. Hey, this is the second of both shows. Please, everyone who came through from my channel, go subscribe. Please hit the like button. And like I always say, leave a comment. It helps out the algorithm to push this gentleman's content out there, which is great content. Yeah, man. Thank you for having me through. You can find me on Twitter, as it says above. I'm your host, Vick3. You can check out my channel, Vick3. You'll see the logo. It'll pop up. You'll see the green face. It'll have my name. Yeah, I appreciate you for coming through. It was a great conversation, great time. And I hope I see you next week on my show again, The Big Ticket, where we'll have a panel show and we'll discuss the draft. And then, we'll chop it up then.
Yeah, for sure. So everybody knows from my channel, also go to Vic's channel. Out of, this is no disrespect to a lot of the other Eagles content creators, but I told you this man is very good at asking questions that I don't even think of, trying to get to know his guest. And also, I seen that you kind of regurgitated some things that you probably learned from me today about some players. So I know you were probably doing a little bit of homework. So I definitely respect that, you respect me, and I definitely respect your opinions as well. At the end of the day, they are all opinions, but opinions can have context with facts. So just want to throw that out there. So with that being said, guys, episode 63 this week. Coming up is going to be me and Don. We're going to be doing a breakdown of our top 15 the top 15 picks of the first round, and also giving you a preview into what our 32, what we think those, where the players are going to fall from there. And then, the next week we're going to have our draft special as well. So this should be an awesome time. So yeah, I'll be on Vic's channel. Hopefully he can come through and poke his head in while we're doing the live draft show. But you guys already know how we do here. Nothing but crispy graphics, crispy takes. And more importantly, and more importantly, don't watch the highlights, watch the film. We'll catch you guys later.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the East Coast Gridiron Podcast. Find us on all your favorite music and podcast platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts. For all the latest news and updates, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by going to eastcoastgridiron.com.